What if I told you that a huge chunk of the English language isn't just a random collection of words? What if it's actually built on a hidden system, a kind of logic that once you see it, you can't unsee it? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to unlock that system by looking at just a handful of ancient roots from Latin and Greek. They're all about the idea of speaking, and you're about to find out how they form the backbone of words you probably use every single day. So, here's our roadmap. We're going to kick things off with DICT, the powerful root of command. Then, we'll slide into the more conversational world of LoQ. After that, we'll listen for VOC, the root of the voice itself, get loud with claim, the root of the shout, and finally, we'll explore gloss, the root of the tongue. Seriously, stick with me through this because by the end, you're not just going to know a few new words. You're going to have a whole new framework for learning vocabulary forever. All right, let's start with a real powerhouse, maybe the most influential root related to speaking, dict, or sometimes DIC. Now, this isn't just about everyday chit-chat. Oh, no. This root is about declaring things, commanding people, and basically laying down the law with your words. And it all stems from this one single Latin verb. Dicere. It means to speak, to declare, and to command. Think of this as the source code, the fundamental building block. From this one idea, an incredible number of English words have been built, and you're about to see just how deep that rabbit hole goes. Okay, so let's get our feet wet with two words you've definitely heard before. On one hand, you have diction. Your diction is your unique style of speaking. It's your choice of words, the way you phrase things, your pronunciation. You could almost call it your verbal fingerprint. On the other hand, you have dictation. That's the actual process of speaking words so someone else can write them down. Like a boss giving a letter to their assistant. So, see, the root dict. To speak is right there in the middle of both, but one is about your personal style, while the other is about a specific action. Now this, right here, is where the magic really starts to happen. Just watch how adding a tiny little prefix completely transforms the meaning of dict. To dictate is the base form, to command or to say words to be written. But add pre, which means before, and suddenly you can predict. You can say something before it happens. Add contra, meaning against, and you contradict someone. You're literally speaking against them. And a verdict in a courtroom? That's just ver, an old root for truth, combined with dict. So a verdict is quite literally the speaking of truth. It's so logical. And check this out. Talk about a perfect pair of opposites. On the left, we have malediction. This combines mal, meaning badly or evil, with our root for speak. So a malediction is a curse. It's literally the act of speaking evil upon someone. Now look at the other side. You have benediction, from bene, which means well or good. So a benediction is a blessing. It's the act of speaking good things upon someone. It's the same root, being used to create both a poison and its antidote. It's just beautiful. You can really feel the weight of authority in this root. Imagine a king. He issues an edict. That's a command that is spoken out for the whole public to hear. Then, maybe years later, that same king decides to abdicate the throne, which means he formally declares that he is stepping away from power. Meanwhile, in his courts, a judge can indict a criminal, which is to formally speak charges against them. And all of this happens within a certain jurisdiction, the physical area where the law, that's juris, has the power to speak and be heard. And the root's influence stretches into some really unexpected corners. Now get this, the word addict originally described a person who was devoted to a saying or a command. Isn't that fascinating? That sense of total devotion to a master's word eventually shifted to mean a devotion to a substance or an activity. And what about when you dedicate something? You are formally saying that it is set apart for a special purpose. And a dictionary? Well, that's just a collection of things. An ionary, related to sayings. It's a book of words. Simple as that. Okay, so if DICT was all about command and authority, our next root, loque, is all about connection. It comes from the Latin loqui, and this is the root of real conversation, that back and forth, free-flowing exchange of words that happens between people. And here is a perfect distinction in style. Someone who is loquacious is simply full of talk. They're chatty, they're talkative, they just talk a lot. But someone who is eloquent doesn't just talk a lot. They speak with beauty, with fluency, with persuasion. That little E prefix means out. So the idea is that their beautiful words flow out of them with grace and power. It's quality over quantity.
And this root is incredibly adaptable. Think about it. Colloquial language, that's how we speak together when we're just hanging out with friends. It's informal. A soliloquy is the exact opposite. It's when a character in a play speaks their thoughts alone on stage. The person you're actually talking with in a conversation, that's your interlocutor, the person you speak between. And then there's the really weird one, a ventriloquist, who is an entertainer that literally appears to speak from their belly.
And then we have this fantastic word, circumlocution. Circum means around, so this is literally speaking around a topic. It's the art of using a ton of words to avoid getting straight to the point. You know, when a politician doesn't want to answer a question, that's circumlocution. We've all seen it, and we've probably all done it.
Now, loqua can also get pretty intense. Someone who is grandiloquent uses large, pompous words trying to sound super important. An allocution isn't just any speech, it's a very formal one directed to a specific group, like from a pope or a general. Elocution isn't about what you say, but how you say it. It's the pure skill of speaking out clearly and expressively. And then there's obloquy. That's when words are used as weapons. It's harsh, public verbal abuse spoken against someone. All right, let's switch gears. We now turn to VOK, or VOK, which comes from the Latin vocare, meaning to call. So this root is less about the conversation or the message, and more about the sound itself, the voice, the act of calling out, of summoning something.
The simple power of a call is baked right into these words. Vocal obviously just relates to the voice, but your vocation, that's a much deeper concept. It's your life's calling, the career you feel drawn to. When a smell or a song evokes a memory, it is calling it out from the depths of your mind. And when you provoke someone, you are deliberately trying to call forth a reaction from them, and usually it's not a happy one. And just look how the direction of that call changes everything. If a government revokes a law, they officially call it back. An advocate for a cause is someone who calls others to join them in support. When you're in trouble, you might invoke a rule or a law, meaning you call it in to help you. And then there's equivocate. That's when you try to use equal-sounding voices or words for both sides of an issue, calling it a way that is intentionally vague to hide the truth. Which brings us to this absolute showstopper of a word. When a decision is irrevocable, the whole story is spelled out right there. Ir means not, re means back, and voke means call. So an irrevocable decision is one that cannot be called back. It's done, it's final, the end.
Okay, let's get loud. We're moving on to our most energetic root yet, claim, which comes from the Latin clamare. It means to shout or to cry out. These aren't words for a library. These words have real volume and force behind them. You can just feel the energy of a shout in every single one of these verbs. When you're surprised, you exclaim, you shout out. When a king makes a big announcement, he proclaims it, shouting it forth for everyone to hear. When the crowd loves what he said, they give him acclaim. They shout their praise to him. If someone steals your land, you reclaim it. You shout for it back again. When you want nothing to do with something, you disclaim responsibility. You shout, "Not me!" And to declaim is to speak with intense, dramatic passion, like an actor shouting their lines on a stage.
And of course, the nouns that come from this root carry that same loudness. A clamor is that loud, messy, chaotic noise of a whole crowd of people shouting at once. An exclamation is that one single sharp shout of surprise or pain from one person. And a proclamation is the grand official announcement that rises above all that shouting. You can practically hear the noise just by reading the words. Okay, for our final root, we're going to take a quick trip from Latin over to Greek. Meet gloss and glot. This root is a little different. It's less about the sound of speaking and more about language itself, about explanations, and even about the physical thing we use to speak, the tongue. This root brings us right to the heart of language. A glossary, found at the back of a book, is a place for explaining words. Each of those little explanations is called a gloss. But the root also means tongue. So a polyglot is someone who speaks many tongues, or many languages. And here's the part that I think is just incredible. The root connects the abstract idea of language directly to our own bodies. The epiglottis is that tiny flap of cartilage that sits upon the glottis, the opening at the root of your tongue to keep you from choking. So the same root describes a note in a book, the ability to speak French, and a part of your throat. How cool is that?
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. Learning vocabulary doesn't have to be about memorizing endless random lists of words. It can be about learning a system. It's about becoming a detective. Once you understand these roots, you gain this incredible power to decode words you've never seen before. Your vocabulary can grow logically, systematically, and you'll remember words so much better because they're not just floating around in your head alone. They're part of this huge hidden network that connects thousands of words together. By understanding just these 5 families, dict, loque, voc, claim, and gloss, you've essentially been given a key, a secret decoder ring for a huge part of the English language. You can now see the elegant logic where most people just see a jumble of letters. So the only question left is, now that you know the code, what words are you going to unlock next?